Good evening, everybody. Welcome to part 7. Can you believe it? I can't. Oh dear, gosh, hasn't the time gone by? You think at the beginning of it all, it's going to take a little while. You know, it's gonna 12 days seems like a very long time, and it takes you well into January. And hi, Gemma. And actually the time is whizzing because of course it's the first today. Did you do anything? Did you go anywhere? Did you see anybody? Did you have anything nice? Oh dear, I didn't. Just in case you want to ask, I was just going to move my flower parts. I might as well do that while I'm just talking to you. I'm going to put them there and hope that I don't sort of brush them off my desk, because all my little bits cut out ready. So I'll put them to one side. We'll see how we get on. Let's see, there we go. So I wanted to iron my piece of fabric. I'll bring it on and then I'll iron it while I'm waiting. There we go. Just make sure that the tearaway is on the right side. When I say the right side, the wrong side of my fabric. Oh, a lot of wires there today. I might have to unplug it. Anyway, are you okay? Happy New Year. Yes, of course, Happy New Year to everybody. It's lovely to have your company again. I'm going to move my wires because I've got umpteen things going on under my desk. So I think I'll unplug. Oh, goodness. I bet that gets caught up on something else. There we go. Just plug it in again. Great. We're nearly there. And actually I've been preparing this room all day. Well, not all day. I gave it a jolly good clean. I gave it a bit of a vacuum and didn't quite get my steam mop on it, but I was going to. Hold on. Visited a fabric shop and lunch. How nice, Dawn. Did anybody else visit a fabric shop today, or any shops come to that? I'm just trying to think, did I go out? No, I didn't go out. Well, it was John's day to go to football, which means that I've always got a sort of a little bit of time to myself. It doesn't happen very often, so I take full advantage. Right, so we say hello to Gemma, to Lorraine, to Nicola, Kathy, Judith and Anne, and Jilly, Vanessa, Melba, Janet, Alegria. I'm not sure if I ever say that right, or is it just Alegria? It's a lovely name, whatever, it's lovely. Jill and Sue and Judith, Kim, Brenda, Mandy, Daryl, Marion. Oh, Anita says she had all the family over today for mine and my granddaughter's birthday. Anita, happy birthday. Oh my gosh, and your granddaughter. Everybody wish Anita a happy birthday, because I certainly didn't put that on the group, the members group, that is. Gemma Joy, haven't left the house, chocolate and sewn for me. Yes, well, I had some chocolate. And what did I have for my lunch? Oh, I had Caesar salad, and then I had Thai green curry for tea, but that was vegetable Thai green curry. It's very nice. I cooked it myself. When I say cooked it myself, I always have HelloFresh. I don't know if anybody else has that. It's marvellous. Happy birthday, Anita, and your granddaughter. How wonderful. Right, let's just give this an iron now. And so I hope you've all had a good day. Right, so for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you'll know hopefully by now, if you've seen all the other parts, that this is an hour later for you. It's not live. I do apologise. Just a technical glitch until I have 5 minutes to sort myself out to do the technical glitches. I don't know quite what I'm going to... Well, actually, I do know what I'm going to do, right, let me leave that there, otherwise I'm going to get myself in a right old kerfuddle. Yes, so I do apologise to YouTube viewers. It does get loaded up within about 5 or 10 minutes of the live finishing, just past 8 o'clock. And then you can see it then. If you've got any questions, if you haven't been on the Facebook group today, you know, on the page here, because I do suggest while I'm having downtime from YouTube, perhaps you want to come onto Facebook. And I know Facebook is not always everybody's cup of tea, but actually vice versa as well. I've had it where YouTube is not so good either, you know, for people's personalities and how they like to do things. Anyway, enough of that drivel. Yes, so I hope you're well. I'm just going to just alter my screen a little bit. There we go. Let's get you on there nicely. I can see all the comments. That's fab. And it's just lovely to have you here with me on Bank Holiday Monday, isn't it? 1st of January 2024. How fantastic is that? Really fantastic. We got there. That's the first hurdle. Right, so part 7. When I look at my sheet, if we have a quick look on the overhead here, let's just get you on the overhead. There we go. Oh, I did bring my drink, didn't I? Oh yes, it's over there. So 6 and 7 is this here. I'm right, aren't I? We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Yes, it's those 2 bits there. And tonight is part 7. You know when you get to the point you think, is it? I'm pretty sure it is. Boxing Day. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, part 7. And we're sort of doing these bits here. Now I've done an awful lot, so all I'm going to show you, because we've already covered this one, but I'll show you what I've done. Yes, I could do with a sherry actually, Julie, but I brought my bottle of water up, so I might have to have a slurp in a minute. We've already done this one. I have done it slightly different, and I did put a little video on the page today of me just finishing off some of the free motion in there. This one I've done a fair bit to as well. Now the only reason why I've kind of got more ahead perhaps than I might have done is because we've got this to do, but I really want to also concentrate on the borders good enough so you can finish your little quilt off. And I am going to do the piano keys, so I'm going to give you a foolproof, I use that term loosely, a foolproof way of making these fairly quickly. And I'm sure you probably know it if you've ever done it before. So I want to cover that particularly, and then obviously we got to think about the quilting and all of that. So the quilting I've had some ideas about, and I'll talk to you about that perhaps more when we come to it. For those of you that have done your blank, when I talk about blank spaces, it's these bits here, here and here. Some of you have already decided, Julie and I know Tricia are going to do the strip piecing, which I think will look absolutely gorgeous. And even more so if you do the piano keys around there, I think that could work quite well. Maybe trial it on a piece and see how you feel about it. But I'm leaving mine plain, and because of that, I'm going to do an awful lot of oh, thank you, Dawn. Oh yes, it's different Dawn. Signed up for the free motion workshop. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. That's on the 14th. And I haven't covered a huge amount of free motion on this little quilt here, only because we're covering it so much more on the 14th, and I don't want to give all of the information away, otherwise there's absolutely no point doing the course. But there we are. So I'm actually going to quilt this quite heavily. I made that decision earlier today because normally what you can do is that you could perhaps echo quilt around each piece, so each square or rectangle. You could do a basket weave, and I was thinking maybe of doing a sort of a part basket weave. I hadn't really thought it through hugely, but I was thinking maybe do, let's say, like that, and then perhaps do kind of bubbles on this bit. Yeah, so that's still an opportunity, because that's still quite a lot of quilting. What we're not going to do is quilt over any of the flowers. Okay, so when you quilt, you're going to go up to the line. You're not going to go over the line. Okay, hopefully you can see that okay. Oh, Yvonne says, would love the course, but doing a Zoom workshop on the 14th. Well, that's okay, Yvonne, because it's going to be a Facebook Live in a private group. So if you wanted to buy the course, you can watch it the next day or the day after. It's like everything else, isn't it? It's available to you for at least a year, and then I'll probably close the group down. But it depends on what happens, basically. Yeah, so I did think that might be quite nice, because obviously we're looking at flowers, and I'm thinking of baskets or window boxes, that type of thing. And you could do the same with all of them. There's no reason why, even with this, you know, you'd have to sort of draw a sort of line of some sort across your panel, and then you could crosshatch part of it, so it gives you, when I say basket weave, it's a crosshatch. Okay, we're not going to do a basket weave. But on these blank pieces, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to do matchstick quilting. And a lot of this, I can show you bits and pieces of it, yeah? Because we won't have time for me to show you. It will take me 3 or 4 hours perhaps to do all of this quilt. So even though it's really tiny. So I was thinking matchstick quilting on the rectangles, and even if this is vertical, I might sort of do matchstick quilting horizontally. So I think it's going to be a case of I'm going to have to print off another one of these plans, if you like, and then have a bit of a scribbling. Dawn says she couldn't find the group for it. Well, if you download the email that you got with your order, Dawn, all of the links and everything are on the email. So many people don't do that. They don't download the email, and yet that's where your order confirmation is, and all of your details. So have a look, Dawn. Any troubles, give us an email and we'll sort it out for you. Yeah, so this is the sort of thing that you could do, but I do think this is going to be heavily quilted. For instance, with this one, I'm thinking about doing swirls. So, and then you've got to go the other way and stuff like that. And it could be, and we fill in with little swirls and such like. And I might draw it out with pen. I don't know. It's getting to that point of I've got to make a decision at some point over the next couple of days, basically, to be able to finish this off for you. But there's quite a lot of blank spaces here, and I definitely didn't want to leave that blank. I mean, that could be, I mean, do you see I sort of filled it in with pencil with wavy lines? Well, I could do the same again. You know, I could do that with my quilting. The other thing, of course, we haven't looked at yet, which we will over the next couple of days, is actually using a twin needle for free motion, which is quite interesting. Again, something I'll cover on the workshop in a little bit more detail, but it's something that you could consider. Or just a twin needle with a straight stitch on your regular, you know, with your regular foot. So I think it will benefit. You can see with me colouring it in, it changes it. I think it would really benefit from quite a bit of quilting. I like the bubbles, and do I repeat it for this one? I don't think I should. I think I should just do it on one and then think of something else to do with this one. I don't know what yet. I'm making it up as I go along, as you should really, if it's just a one-off little piece. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So I'm kind of diverted off. What is it when you go off tangent? Yeah, I've gone off tangent. So these two here is what we are going to do today, yesterday and today, because this is obviously part 6 and part 7. And so let me show you what I've done so far. I think that would be a good idea, rather than me keep rabbiting on. Don't want to hear me rabbit on. So this is the beautiful scallop flowers, and I use my variegated thread so you can see it a little bit more clearly now of the free motion that I've done. Let me get that in there a little bit more for you. That's it. I wish I could get a better light. Just bear with, because I've got a light here that I can switch on. that might help us a little bit more. Possibly not, but we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Okay, so I don't think it's helped at all. So I free motioned that this morning, and if you haven't seen it yet, there is a video on my page showing, I can't remember which one, I think it was that one I was doing, showing that I've done 3 goes all the way round, 3 rows, and then I did, because we did the pen the other night, I've had to continue with using the pen, because obviously I can't not just use it on 1 or 2. It's got to be, the theme has got to be carried forward. So the one that I did earlier, let me show you, is this one, and I did hearts. Just get that on there. So I did hearts in the little dips. This time I did little circles, you can just about see it, and filled in quite a bit here, but I've left that plain, if you like, but I've done the stitch effect around, and I've done stitch effect around here, which I didn't on that one. This one's got buttonhole stitch, which was quite nice, and free motion in there in the sort of centre, and I did little circles there so it looks like a sunflower. With this one I've just left it nice and plain, but I've got the stitch around there. What about putting your light box on, Lizzie? Well, do you know what, Sue? You'd be amazed. I have got the biggest lights in this room. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it if I showed it to you. Kath will tell you. It's peculiar. I think it's more about the cameras. I'm just moving this other light, and I don't think it helps much, but I will. It's peculiar because sorry, I don't want you to put it in your face. Let's just move it a bit. I've got these massive studio lights in here. 1, 2, 3. I can't look at them because they're too big. That's a little bit better. I'll have to move it in a minute. Yeah, so you can see that we've got, let me just get rid of me a little bit. I've done the free motion around here, around the leaves here, and put the stems in, and although I did a stem here, you really can't see it very well because I've used thread that's very, very similar to the fabric, you know, thread colour. With this one I've used a variegated, so obviously it stands out a lot more. So even though these are identical designs, they actually look quite a bit different, so it's quite nice to have that juxtaposition, isn't it? So that one is done, and that one is this one here. Okay, so we've managed to achieve that, and now we're going to look at the 3-headed tulip, which I think is really nice. It's the only one that we've got just the one of, so it's nice to, you know, do something a little bit different for it. So this is what I've done so far. I haven't done a huge amount, but I've done some, and we're going to do satin stitch today. Hopefully you can see that. Let me just perhaps bring my light in a bit more over the top. Do you know, it makes no difference. I think it's my cameras more than anything. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about it. Yeah, so I've done satin stitch on this. Now, it's really important with satin stitch, even though you've used the Bonder Web or Heat and Bond or whatever you've used, that you do use a stabiliser underneath. If you don't, and you go onto your background fabric more than you do your, let's say, your leaf here, you could easily scrumple up your fabric. I mean, you can see it's slightly puckered, but if you keep to the edge of your leaf, for instance, and then go into your leaf, you'll get a much better result. I've got my stabiliser on the back there, but it really does need that extra stability to stop it from puckering. Also, it's very good to test your fabrics and your thread, your stitch length and stitch width. I'm fairly happy with this. I mean, this is not a true satin stitch. if it was a true satin stitch, it would be a lot closer together. I don't think for me that is vitally important. It might be for you, but I'm happy with how that looks. I'm really happy with how that looks. So I would suggest that you test everything. Put a new needle in your machine and test. Okay, so we're going to do this flower here because this is the flower I haven't done, and it's quite important to understand the order in which you do the stitching. So for instance, if we have a look at the leaves, just as an example, the leaves went underneath the stem. Okay, they don't have to, but in this case they have. So they would need, the stitching would need to stop here. So you must stitch all your leaves first, okay, and your stems here. You should stitch all of those first. Okay, and your stitches should go right to the end, but I wouldn't worry too much about the point, but go at least to the end. You know, make it as neat as you can. So you're doing all 6 leaves and you're doing the 2 stems with the satin stitch. Then you're coming down with your satin stitch or whatever stitch you decide along this upright stem, because what happens is the stitching covers everything that you've done previously, which actually makes a really neat job. So likewise with your flower, you need to, I'm going to try and do it so my hand is not in the shade or shades my fabric. You need to do this bit first, okay, and then you go round and you do this, and that can all be done in one fell swoop. So you start here, go around, come around, and back along. Okay, that one doesn't, that when you come along here, that doesn't cover up that end stitch, but crikey, you know, we can't do everything. So, but we make the best of what we can do. So for the flower, we start with the bud first, and we do this bit first, and I've done it in gold, so it's slightly different. And then I'm going to go in with the variegated and just do the 2 petals all at the same time, because they don't cross over. I don't know if you've noticed, they just don't cross over. They come down there and then they come up here. So those 2, look at the design, let's get it, because that's much easier to see. They just literally kiss there. And we will satin stitch over the top of that, and you'll lose some of that point. That's okay. But they don't cross over. These 2 splay out. So that's what you want to try and achieve when you're stitching those, you know, when you stick them and then when you stitch them, yeah? So we're going to stitch the flower. I've just noticed I've got a loose stitch there. Let's get rid of it. So we're going to start off with the gold first, and we're going to do this bit. But first of all, we're going to have a look at setting your stitch length and stitch width. Okay, so let me just get rid of this light, because it's really in my way. Oh, excuse me. So let me just make my myself a little bigger. Oh, hello. And we'll bring the machine in. I haven't got it set up yet. I've been so busy today, I can't even tell you. Well, I can't tell you. Yeah, I've been really busy. I'm going to move my camera in, so if you bear with me a second, let me just get rid of this light. Oh dear. There we go, so if I can, this is better, if I do it here. There we go. That's it. Right. Right, I'm going to move this camera, so bear with while I just shimmy it around. And I'm going to bring the machine in a little bit more yet. Get rid of some of my scissors and bits and bobs. So I've got my Bernina out today because my Bernina has, oh, have I put it away? It has the satin stitch foot. Now where did I put... Just bear with. What have I done with that? Hold on, guys. Just bear with. I've put them away. That was silly, wasn't it? Because you know, I said to you the other day about if you've got an open toe satin foot, this is when you need it. I've been doing so many other stitching things today that I had a good old sort out. Ah, here it is. So this is the one where, you know, with the open toe. There you go, can you see? So that's the one we're going to use. Fortunately with the Bernina it doesn't take 5 minutes to change the foot. So let's go back to the side camera again. And I'm going to bring it in a bit more. Is that okay for you? So you just flip this up, it's quite nice. It's just as easy for any of your machines probably. It's just my Juki that you have to get the screwdriver out for, sorry. Okay, so I've got my open toe foot on, and that's lovely for satin stitch. It's more a visual thing, but you'll find that the back of your foot, there's a groove which sits over the top of the stitching so it doesn't flatten it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't think it would do that much damage, but let's go with the flow. It's meant to be there to protect your stitching. So I've got my trusty little sample piece here, and I'm going to show you what I mean about choosing your stitch length and stitch width. So I know that I go onto a zigzag, that's a good start. I want to increase the width, I think we'll try it at 4, so we'll try the width of the stitch 4. And it's currently set at 65 or 0.65, so well, let's keep it at that and see what it looks like, because we don't really know until we try it. I've got my cream thread on at the minute, but I will change to gold in a second. Doesn't take a minute. So let's so I've got 2 layers of fabric here, which is what I always suggest, and you'll see, and I really want you to see this. Do a bit more. Okay, let's just take it out of the machine like this. Now I want you to have a look. Normally when you do a test stitch, even with buttonhole, I've done a bit of free motion there, just regular stitch there, and you can see my stitch, my trials just here, and you'll see this is the one I've just done, and it's puckered the fabric. Right, and it's 2 layers of quilting cotton. It's not rubbish cotton, it's really good quality cotton, and unless I pull it, which, you know, you don't want to be doing that with your work, it's not going to, well, even with a good press, that's not going to go flat, and it's puckered it all at the back. It's awful. Now that's nothing to do with tension, that's to do with the fact that we don't have anything underneath this to support the stitch. If I was to get a bit of tearaway stabiliser, bear with, let's cut a little piece off, or any other form of stabiliser, and to be honest, the Bondaweb on its own is not bad, but I do think protecting the fabric is better. So a little bit of stabiliser underneath. Okay, I'll better just use my cutter. It's so slow though. Oh dear. Right, so I want you to have a look at that. That is completely different to that. Can you see? It's laying really flat. Okay, it might need an iron, but then all stitching should have an iron. But the width of that isn't too bad. I took a photograph on my phone with the setup, so I know exactly what I used before, which I'll have a look at in a sec, because I think that's a little bit too, might be too wide. But yeah, but with a little bit of stabiliser behind it, you can see it hasn't puckered, and yet I always say if you're testing stitches, have 2 layers of fabric, calico, whatever it is you're going to use, to have some sort of substance to hold your stitches nicely. So that's the difference, and this is why I always say, especially with something like this, a stabiliser is absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to have a look at my phone, not to see who's messaged me, but to see what my settings were. So let me try and find the one I did this morning, the photo. Here we go. So my stitch width is 3.5. I thought I was a little bit less. So my stitch width is 3.5. My stitch length is 0.65. Okay, so that's so it's exactly the same as that, but it's slightly not as wide, slightly less wide. Okay, so I'm going to change my thread for my gold thread. Let me just take you to the front just while I do that, otherwise it's a bit boring and all you see is my head and my hands. So I'm using, let's get rid of these bits. Now I'm using my stand, so whenever I use any metallic, you can see it, I always use my stand, because I just feel that it does a better job than being on the machine. And I never ever, this is just me, this is not the law, this is not, you tell everybody that that's what Lizzie says, so that's what we should do. It's just what I do. Is I never have my spool, if I can help it, horizontal. I'll always have it upright. I'm tapping that and you can't see it. Let me get it in. Ooh, a bit more. You can see the state of it. That's what I use. It's black, isn't it? Setting the glue, you know, off the thread. Right, here we go. Let's. So I always have it so the thread is high. And this is mainly this is with the metallics. With ordinary regular thread, I put it on the vertical spool there. You might find that yours is perfectly fine, doesn't need to be fiddled with, and what's all the fuss about, but there we are. Okay, so I've got it set up now. Is everybody okay? Is everybody all right? Oh, there's a problem with iPads and the star button, isn't there? I don't know why. Right, so we're going to do the buttonholes, the satin stitch, or a good enough equivalent of, around the bud of the flower. So let me just change your view. There we go. And let me see if I can get it in a bit more. I wonder if I could just get that camera up a wee bit higher and bring it down. Just bear with me, it's going to be wriggly. Oops, sorry. And let me just come in a little bit. That's a wee bit better, isn't it? Yeah, we try. We try. Well, you can see these better now, look. See what they look like. And you can see the leaves and the stem. So you can see what we're aiming for. Yeah. So we're going to do the gold, and we're going to start here. We're going to start here, we're going to go up here, and we're going to come down here. When we get to this point, I'm going to talk to you about what you need to do. Okay, so you need to put your needle down and have a look where you think that needle is going to start. Now, if I just move you a little bit more, it looks to me like the needle is on the right hand side of the zigzag. You know, if you were going to zigzag, zigzag, I reckon it's on the right hand side by the looks of the position of it. So I'm starting, so my needle is on the edge of my bud. Yeah, so put my foot down. Yeah, you can see it now a bit better. And we're just going to set off. Now, all I've got in my bobbin is a cream Gutermann, because that's what I put in earlier. But you could put a yellow Gutermann thread in. And can you see where my needle is going in relation to the bud? Okay, I'm not going very much on this white fabric, because I like the thought of that heat and bond really helping with the stability of my stitching. Right, so the last stitch should really be on the right hand side, and it should be on just thereabouts on the point of the bud. Okay, so if I lift that up and swivel it a bit, you can see very well that my needle is right on the point, and it wants to be on the right hand side. So when we swivel it around to come down from that point, the first few stitches are going to go across the stitches you've just done, but you still end up with a point. You don't end up with a blunt end. So we're going to go over those few stitches that we just did. We're just going to turn the fabric a little bit and just come down the side of the bud, okay? And if you need to turn the fabric, do so really gently. Support your fabric at all times. You don't have to go super fast either. Okay, so we've come to the end of the bud. You can see we've gone all the way around. I'll just do maybe 2 back stitches, nothing very exciting. I'm going to use my cutter, but if you've got if you haven't got a cutter, to be perfectly honest, just pull it out and trim all your ends off. That's perfectly acceptable. We're not quilting, we're just doing a plique. So if I lift that up now, and it still needs a press, you can see what that looks like. And can you see how the point looks? We've got a point, we don't have a blunt end. So if you think about what I said and replay that, you'll get a point. Yeah, or you get the point. Okay, so now we just got to change that thread over. So I'm going to put my variegated in. Now my variegated thread isn't hugely variegated, but when you look at the flowers, you can just see, look, the orange coming through here. It's lovely, really lovely. It's very subtle. It's nothing too dramatic. It's really quite nice. So let's get the machine threaded up. So I do apologise for my hands, my arms, and the threading up. Now, because this is a Bernina, like any other machine, it's a front-facing needle threading business, which is so much better than the Juki. The Juki is a side threading business, and that's always tricky. There we go. So it's easier for me. Okay. Right. So now we're going to do the flower, the actual petals, the side petals here. So if you remember what I said, you can start at the bottom here. I suggest you do, when you come to do this bit, it's all one run. So you're not going to start on this line here. You're going to start here and coming up the side of the petal. Yeah? You're going to go up the side, around, down, like that, follow it around, da 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 da, to here. And that's, like I said before just a moment ago, we can't avoid having an end. We've got to have an end at some point. The alternative is to have ends here. Well, that would be awful. So to have just one end isn't too bad. And you'll see from here, look, they're all right. I think I could pass. So don't forget again, now my needle is on the left hand side. I'd much prefer it to be on the right hand side. So let me, in fact, actually, you know, I could leave it on the left. I could leave it on the left. I'll tell you why. Because we can see that quite nicely. If I had it on the right, I would need to follow this one here. That's fine, that's no problem. We're just going to go round, round, round and down, okay? But it's on the left. I don't think you can see it very well. I'm not going to move the machine, but it's on the left, which means that I really want the needle to be here, right where the point is. And I want that needle to follow the line of that petal, okay? So I'm happy, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there, I'm fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle down so it starts where I want it to start, not where it thinks it wants to start. So I don't know if you can see by me turning it, if that's a good view for you or not. We do our best, we do our best. So we're just going to follow the edge of that flower again, that outside petal. My zigzag, all of a sudden, my status, it looks very wide, but it's not. So just follow that around. You can see I'm holding onto my thread just here, look, got my finger on it, because I don't want it getting in the way of my stitching. So now I've crossed over the bridge. I've just bridged my gold thread, which means that the ends that I had when I started have now been covered with the variegated. And because I'm going around curves, try and get it so your needle is down, and then just slightly move your machine a little bit. Keep it on the right, sorry, on the left, and just move. And just slightly more. So we're manually moving our fabric. Now again, we're going to do exactly the same as what we did before. We're not quite there, we're about 3 stitches off. So we want that needle to end up on the left and on the point. One more, that's it. So bring it up. So now I can just snip that. Okay, so now that means that when I come down this side of this petal, the first few stitches will just go over what I've just done, and you'll hardly notice. You'll hardly notice. I must admit, going the other way would have been better, only because I was listening to somebody the other day, and they said everybody has a way of working, whether it's clockwise, anti-clockwise. You know, you sort whatever you're comfortable with, isn't it? So don't forget to move your fabric, and you might want to put your needle on the left, or you might, depending on your curve, a curve going in you would end up on the right, a curve going out you end up on your left, but that's just experience when you get to know. So now I'm coming to this part here. So when I get to this part, I'm going to cover the stitches that I did a minute ago when I started. So that makes that piece quite neat, as neat as we can anyway. And now I'm going up the side of the second petal. Again, don't forget to move your fabric, otherwise you'll end up with slanty stitches, and you don't want that. Okay. I think my machine needs a service. It's very clunky. Fortunately, I've got a lovely chap in King's Lynn that can do that for me. Right, so I've stopped on the left. So now I'm going to, and it's on the needle is on the point. So now I'm going to move this around. Like I said before, the first few stitches will cover up what you've just done. And don't think that's a waste. No, that's the correct way of doing it. So just follow it down. Just make sure that that left needle, when it goes to the left, is on the edge of your fabric. It just makes such a huge difference. And now we're going over the other gold thread. Beautiful. I love this variegated thread. It's so subtle, and yet it's enough to really make it look very pretty. So we're coming down to this part here. We don't really want to go over our stitches that have gone nicely across. We don't want to do that really. So we want to get fairly close, sort of butt up against that row of stitches, but then do a couple of back stitches just to secure your thread. So let's go back. That's enough. You really don't want to be heavy-handed with any of this. Yeah. Oh, it's so slow. This hasn't even cut it, look. That's what I think, it does need a surface. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, let's push that away a sec. Oh, it's gorgeous. Look at that. That is beautiful. Really beautiful. I'm really happy with how that looks. But don't think, oh, you can leave that now. No, it still needs a press, and it needs a steam, because we've still got a little bit of puckering. It's not a lot, but we've still got a little bit of puckering, and we want to get that lovely and flat. So you do need to give it a press, as I say, with some steam. Protect your work. Do it from the back if you need to. And talking of the back, it's just as gorgeous, well, apart from the threads, just as nice as the front. So that is our three-headed tulip actually completed. So let's just quickly have a look on the overhead. Let's just flick your view. Just push that machine out of the way. And let's give it a little bit of an iron. I'm going to iron it from the back. I don't want to mess up anything. Oh, there's Millie. Good timer. So let's put the iron on. Let's bring my mat in. Just give it a little iron. And you see, while you're waiting for the iron to heat up, you can start sort of taking all this away. Now that's what I was going to talk to you about as well. If you've done satin stitch, and if you've done an awful lot of free motion, there's no reason why you can't tear your tearaway, because your stitches are a lot stronger than you might have done previously, but I still do rather like my fabulous unpicker, because it just, but be careful, just be careful. I don't want you to rip your fabric. Just keep the ball of your unpicker onto your fabric, and then you won't cut. And it glides through. It's like butter. But because I've used 505 on the back of my heat and bond, tearaway, gosh, too many words, it's not as easy to take away as if I hadn't. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this, because there's no need. I can do that tomorrow. So yeah, so you can see it's a little bit tacky on there. Let me just take that bit away at least. And then you can see how quick it is to take it away. And like I say, you can rip most of this. Still be careful. You really must support your stitches. Don't just pull it. You know, it's like when you do foundation paper piecing. Every single seam you do, you must support it in some way. Yeah, it's just much easier. And then, right, stop doing it, Lizzie. Right. So I probably will take the papers out of the tearaway out of the centre of that. Yep. So if you've got some sew flat or some best press, whatever your poison is, then give it a little squirt. I need some new. I must speak to Abigail. I don't know if she's got. I don't think she's got any on her website at the moment. But it does really help just to get that little bit of. Mind you, this little iron is a great little steam iron. It really is. I was very impressed. I'll put some water in to try. Yeah, and it's really, I'm quite impressed with it. So that's that. I think that's looking a little bit better. So yeah, and even sort of when you go to quilt it, that'll all sort itself out. Okay, so now we've got that far. Let's have a look at the time. Oh, right, we've got 10 minutes. So what we've got to consider now is putting all of these pieces together. So we've got, let me show you. So we've got this section here, okay? Because we've made up that, but we haven't put those together, and then we need to put that together. So we're going to join these two, and then we're going to stitch that one onto those. Okay, so that will then complete. That's 2/3 of our little top done. So that's what we're going to do next. Let me just zoom you out a little bit. Bear with. Let me just take you out a wee bit. You're never going to see all of this. I'll hold it up. So this is our tall flower. So I need to join the one that I did earlier on the bottom of my tall flower, like that. Yeah, so that goes on to that. If I bring that down, bring that up, you can see what that looks like. So that needs to go on to there. So I'll be ever so good. Well, it doesn't happen very often. And pop some pins in. We'll pop that under the machine. Press the seam open. Then we can stitch. So we're stitching that to that. Then we'll stitch that to that. And then we'll stitch that to that. Okay? That's the order in which we're going to do this now. So let me just bring the machine in. I'll put you on the front while I just change thread. There we go. Take the yellow off. The thread really makes it stand out. Yes, it does. And of course, you know, if you haven't started yet, you may not have started, you may not even do all of it, but it's good for you to see all of these different techniques, and you then can choose what you think you would like. We've done so many different things this week, or this last 7 days, and I'm sure, as I said last night, I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't even dream that there'd be so many different ways of doing applique. So, as I said earlier, at the beginning of it all, you maybe thought, oh well, it's going to be all. There's my foot here. No, that's the wrong one. I haven't got a little foot for this machine. I don't know why I haven't, but I haven't. I've only got a great big one, which will do. Yeah, so it's nice to see the different techniques, the different ways of doing things, and then you can see what suits you, what really floats your boat. It could be that you're you know, you're a free motioner through and through, and you know, you'll stick to it. Well, that's fine, isn't it? It's fine, because you obviously love it. But you might have seen the satin stitch now. I need a new needle in this machine. And thought, actually, I really like that. But do test out the stitch width and the stitch length before you commit to your project. Okay. I'm not keen on this machine. I mean, it's a great machine. It's a Bernina. It should be absolutely marvellous. But it's, as I say, I think it's just because it needs a service. It's being a little bit naughty. So all I'm doing is pressing my seam. Look, I'm just pressing my seam. I'll keep you at the front there for a moment. And we will open up the seam. I might as well go on the overhead. Let's have a look. So you're a bit zoomed out still. So let's just open that seam up. I'll switch that on, yeah. There we go. And you've got, your blocks are quite big, you know, they're 10.5, you know, the width, they're quite big, so it's not, the piecing of this is actually just as nice and easy as the applique, really. Yeah, so has anybody got any thoughts about, you know, those of you that haven't started putting, you know, doing the applique stitching, maybe you're thinking still you're not sure what you're going to be doing. So look, now we're joining the two long sides. I know it's difficult for you to see, but I can't zoom you out anymore. So I've just stitched these two together. So now I'm going to stitch that one to that one. Okay, so I'll just pin it. I'll keep you here. And because Oh, there's Millie. And because we have alternated the small rectangles, you haven't got any seams to nest. There's no sort of crossing over point, which is quite nice. So, you know, if it doesn't quite fit, you can jiggery pokery it around a little bit. So it depends on you whether your seam allowances, because you've only got a few seam allowances, but they, you know, they might not be 100% accurate depending on your stitching. But I won't worry about it. Oh, I've got an odd pin here. I don't like these big pins, but needs must. I think we're there. So, yeah. Just want to make sure it's sitting okay. So I've got all my pieces on there now. Look, it's all pinned together. So I'm going to pop it under the machine and just stitch down here. Let's just make sure we have got that position correctly. So yeah. So you want the right hand side of your first set of blocks against the left hand side of your tall flower. If that's how you look at it, you'll remember that. So let's pop you on the side camera. You're going to be a little close, but it saves me getting up and zooming you in. Judy says she's not sure what colour she's going to use. Yes, have a day playing with stitches. It's not, you know, it's something that it's a nice thing to watch. You don't have to join in, and I know a lot of people haven't, but it's still quite nice to watch and learn and think, oh, I wouldn't do it like that, or yes, that's a good idea, or, you know, colours as well. Look at what people are doing in the Making It Special group. They've been posting pictures of what they've done so far, and that might inspire you, you know, colour-wise. Yeah, I always think looking at other people's work is a great way of deciding whether those colours are for you or not. Because yellow isn't everybody's colours, but for me, January is all about yellow. Now, can you see this puckering going on? That's because I need to have a new needle in my machine. So be aware that if you get puckering like that, probably not anything to do with thread tension, but I reckon if I change my needle, and I can hear it as well catching the fabric, if I change my needle it would be super. And I meant to do it earlier and I forgot. But it's not very often I use this machine. In fact, I haven't used it for about 4 or 5 years, up until recently. When we did Abigail's workshop at Sewham, I made everybody name badges, and I did them on the embroidery unit of this machine. And that's the first time it's been used in, as I say, about 4 years. Right, so let's just push that away, and we'll get you back on the overhead again. We'll have a look at everything. So we want to press this seam open. Oh, have I run out of bobbin? Oh gosh, I don't think so. I think it's this machine. Let me have a look at it. I think it's perfectly fine. Let me just stitch that little bit. So I'll keep you there just for a sec. I'm pretty sure it needs, as I say, needs looking at. But I'll take it to the Cozy Cabin, not tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday, and I'll get it sent off to Machine World, Sew Machine World, because he does all the servicing. I don't think I could. Oh no, I didn't get the machine from him. I think I got it from Franklin's. I think. Can't remember now. Right. Let's see if it's stitched this time. Right. Sorry about that, guys. These things happen. Happen to you one day. So it needs a good press. You can see it's Really not a happy piece of fabric at the moment, but we've got all of the essential bits on, and I need to get it under the what I call the household iron. I've got an Alicio, and it needs the weight and steam of a really good iron. A really these are lovely for pottering about, as I call it, for you know, pressing in little seams as you go, but absolutely not when it comes to your final piece. So we need to put this piece on the bottom here. Oh, it's not bad, it's going to fit, look guys. So although I've not pressed it, I will open this seam out. I'll give it a finger press and we'll stitch that bottom piece on, and then I'll hold it up, but it, as I say, don't judge because it needs to have a steam. So I'm happy with that, and my point of my tulip, phew, it's like I planned it, yeah, you know, right. Now let's do it like that. So get these edges together. If they, look, listen, if they don't come together, for goodness sake, trim. This is not going to be entered into the Festival of Quilts or anything like that, is it? It's going to be hung on your downstairs toilet wall or something. You know what I'm saying. Okay, that's not a very good bit of pinning, but that'll do. Right, let's get it on the side camera again. So I wish I'd got my Juki. My Juki's sitting right near my foot, ready to use, and I wish I'd got it up now because we can't beat it for stitching. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. We'll see how we get on with this though. And this is not an old machine. It's not like it's had its day. I should imagine. Well, first of all, it is the needle. I know that. But I've had it. How long have I had it? Maybe 6 years? Maybe. Right, I'm just making sure when I come to that seam, and you could put a pin either side to make sure that it's sitting nice and flat. If that's what you want to do, and you know, you might want to push your seam over to one side like you know, like they say. Oof. Well, I've seen better. Oh dear. Right, let's get you on the front there. Oh, hold on, that's it. Goodness gracious, that's it. Sorry. Oh, I just thought for a minute I'd stitched it on upside down. That wouldn't have been fun, would it? So it needs press. But there is 2/3. 2/3 done. Okay. Looks good, doesn't it? I think so. I think we've got a bit of potential going on. You look at it and you think, is that right? Good. So I will take this away. I'll press it tomorrow. I'm not going to press it now. I'm going to get this on YouTube now. So I hope you enjoyed tonight. We did the satin stitch, which is a really, it's a nice stitch. It's got that density, and that's where your metallic threads or your variegated threads, if your machine is a bit choosy with metallic threads, and Bernina's are particularly, then use a variegated Gutermann, a decent quality thread, and you'll get a super result. You really will. Rather than just using one solid colour, I think. It's up to you, but that's my opinion. Right, so thank you very much for watching this part 7 I'll get this up on YouTube now, and we'll be on part 8 tomorrow, Tuesday, where we will then start working down this side of our quilt. So 8 and 9, days 8 and 9 are here. Quite honestly, I think we'll get that done probably tomorrow night, so it gives us a little bit of leeway to do the other bits and pieces. And then this is day 10, okay, and then we'll spend the last 2 nights concentrating on the borders, the quilting, and I'll have to only just do a little bit, an hour's worth, as much as I can, and then the binding, which what I'll have to do is finish off the quilting the day, on the day of the binding. Yeah, does that make sense? Right, thank you very much for watching. Really lovely to have your company. Let me just have a quick look at the comments. Oh, wrong mouse. Let me just have a quick look. I hope, I don't know if any of you had any questions or anything. I didn't see anything. Thank you, Jerry. Helena says, could also try a polyester embroidery thread to get a higher sheen than cotton instead of glitter thread. 100%, Helena, definitely use an embroidery thread that you would use for picture building and things like that. Can't wait to try satin stitch. Oh, Gillian, yes you must, but do try it with a stabiliser, because these it makes such a difference. Well, you've seen, I showed it to you, so it's amazing the difference. Oh, thank you, Shadia. That's very nice of you to say that. Thank you, Kath. Do you use a top stitch needle with glitter thread? I also reduce my top tension. I use a top stitch needle for free motion and metallic thread as well, because it's got a bigger hole which helps the thread go through. It doesn't shred it. And a top stitch needle is fabulous for free motion, so that pretty much that's all I ever have in my machine, and a size 12, because we're going through lots of layers. You wouldn't need a 14. You might be able to get away with a 10. Try it. It's a nice fine needle, but you know, it's like everything, you've got to find what you like. If you haven't got any top stitch needles, do get some and give them a go. Right, okie doke. I think we've got all the comments. I've seen, had a quick look, and I don't think there's any questions or anything. Lovely. I will go then and sort this out on YouTube. I'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for part 8. What is it, 7? Part 8. Night, night, everybody. Night.